recorded it. It's somewhere on tape. And speaking of the guest stars, I know we have a lot of guest stars. Wow, Patti LaBelle, one of the guest stars, right? And we can look forward to that.
But I don't think there are any pies. Don't think just because you get a pie, you get a pie, you get a pie.
I love Patti pies. Can you talk about, her role on the show this season?
Well, fellowship is so important amongst women, that we share, and you have somebody that you can go to. And if you notice, Lady Mae has no one. There's absolutely, she doesn't have a friend on the show. Everything is, she's a worker bee, and it's managing all these different areas at church and home and children, and she thinks anyway. She needs to mind her business sometimes, but she does know best. And so she thinks. And so she finds herself in all these dilemmas that we talked about, and she doesn't have a friend. And Patti ends up playing a character who's a television evangelist, and we went to school together. I won't tell you what kind of school, but we went to school together, and she seeks out her friend because she needs advice. It's the first time. She just does not know how to manage her life. And so she becomes my sounding board, my cheerleader, and you see two women of a certain age just really enjoying each other's company. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And it was great working with Patti. We had so much fun.
When we talk about the storylines being elevated this season, can each of you tease one or two things that we can look forward to? I'll start with you, Mr. David.
Let me see. One of the things you can look forward to, as everybody is anticipating, what is he going to do with that woman?
Oh yeah.
Well, let us say you can look forward to him walking up to the door of temptation. Now, whether he goes through the door, whether the door opens,
Anything.
but maybe the door just cracks. You'll see.
All right, Keith.
Ooh, that was a tease for the whole season.
That was a tease with something else.
My heart just watching it.
You hear your parents talking nasty.
Deal with
It's
Rochelle
stressful.
Oh my.
I got PTSD now. Daddy talking nasty.
And you're leading your own flock, so I know that I can look forward to Jacob's.
Jacob, the father, and trying to love his little boy differently, or at least he believes differently than the way he believes his father loved him. Trying to be a father and raise a teenage daughter and not strangle her. And at the same time, literally not strangle her, but also not strangle her, not hold her so tight that all you do really is push her away. So that delicate balance between, again, really understanding now what the pressure and responsibility really has been for this man, knowing it from a different perspective, now that he's in these real interesting positions with his own family and his own children, and even with his own, with his own wife. So it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. So that judgment that we all have and that ungrateful thing we have as children when it comes to our parents, until we find ourselves in the same position, and it's like, oh, so that forgiveness and that mercy we need to have and the appreciation is something that Jacob is finally starting to understand. Now being the leader of this new church is like,
your own church as
so
well.
that's what he's had to deal with,
Right.
and manage all these years. Now on top of that, his wife's trying to be the first lady, and she's trying to be a mother and a wife, and she's trying to make sure that this other former first lady ain't cozying up too tight, especially because her man ain't there no more. So be careful with that. So it's a lot going on as well. You're trying to, and that's the thing, the whole dynamic of this show and of this family is how we're all trying to juggle all these things at the same time, hoping, we don't lose sight of it all and, you know, lose a handle on it. But naturally, especially when you start handling too much, something hits the floor. And how do you put it back together without screwing everything up, but still maintain your relationship here at the same time? So everybody's on this journey to do better and be better, but we know we got a long way to go. So, you know, so it's just Jacob's trying to work all that through. And so it's going to be interesting to see how well he does with some things. And that's what I love about Jacob, is he always surprises you. There's always something to be proud of. There's always another way to fall in love with him. At the same time, he's still a brother trying to work it out.
Well, you know what, those hinges.
He makes his mistakes.
The door off the hinges. How many of you have all said that to your teenager?
Yes.
And I threw that in there. That wasn't scripted. No, there's so many
We said that
things.
in my house about 2
There's so
months
many
ago.
things that
With
naturally
our
come
16
through us. Yes, and that's what's great too. They allow us to, you know, for some of the things that work, they just happen, you know, naturally, just by all of us just kind of being in the moment with each other.
I love it. And what about Charity's character?
Poor Charity. There's just a lot happening, and you know, with her dealing with the grief, you're gonna she finds herself lost. She finds herself lost in the grief. She finds herself lost with her family, like where's her place? Everything is falling apart. I think that parental structure falling apart is very damaging for her. I mean, you saw her, she said, I'm gonna come from a broken home at 30.
And y'all missed me
But
saying,
that's
what are
very
you, 12?
I think that's very real for her, and that has a huge impact on how she proceeds with dealing with everything else. And there's a rock bottom before she gets back up again.
Now, let me ask you, since we still have you, you sang a song for the soundtrack last season, and I have been told that music was not something that you planned on doing, despite your family background. I mean, you are a Winans. Can't go anywhere without, I mean, come on. For real though, who's from Detroit?
What up, though?
Do they look at you like, oh, for real, you get on TV and now you do this? Like, what?
No, well, you know,
Are they-
my dad never pressured us to sing. And singing just was not, I didn't love it. My passion, my parents took us to the movies every weekend, and I would stare at that screen and just think, oh God, I can do that. I want to do that, since I was a little girl. And so that was my focus. I got my BFA in acting, my MFA in acting. That was
Wow.
all I wanted to do. So imagine me when I get this role and they said I had to record. I said, well, ain't that something? Now what? Now how do I do that? Growing up in a family that's all they ever did, and that I had no desire, no passion. But what it showed me is I knew I had a gift to do it, but I just didn't want to do it. And that was God saying, you need to use every gift that I give you. It's not for you, it is for others. And so now I tell people, whatever gift you have, work it all. Because in the beginning, it was sink or swim. It was a challenge. And now I'm growing in my confidence there, but that was a very, very hard piece for me. And so while I didn't love singing or have a passion, I'm grateful that I've been able to do what I do on the show, and I give God all the glory. I'm just trying to step into whatever doors He opens.
I love it. Now, I know that we already spoke about Lady Mae's character and the things that she's going to be going through this season. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
She is going to have to, she looks at everybody else and tells them how she thinks things should be done. And this season, we're going to experience one of the huge mistakes of her life, that she has to look in the face and say, yes, I did that. And so when you find it all out, it's really juicy, and it's really something that families deal with often, but Lady Mae and she's gonna have to, she did, y'all, I'm not kidding. I mean, and it's one of those ones that just doesn't go away. Yeah, and so she's going to have to own up to that.
Girl, your eyes right now if I could just take a picture of you. She's like, oh, I can't wait.
Yes, it's bad. Almost worse than anything anybody else has done, except maybe kill my brother.
The elephant in the room.
Oh, that little thing.
Just murder, come on. Was that a tough scene to shoot? I mean, was,
the fight with Mac?
Uncle Mac?
I was physically
Ooh.
and emotionally, even though Greg Allen is such a good friend and an extraordinary actor, and so I felt safe going to the mat with him, but it was hard. I was so raw and physically broken, even though, you know, we had pads and all that kind of stuff. It was a really difficult thing to do. And it was a culmination of us, you know, giving these dirty looks to each other for a good year and a half. You know, we had a lot to
Unpack.
there you go, a lot to unpack, hallelujah. And unpack it we did. I still feel, my breath catches if I watch that scene again. I can feel those things. Yeah.
Oh, me as well.
And she did a lot of the stunt work herself.
Ooh,
A lot of the running in heels. And
What can we expect even with Sophia and in her evolution?
Well, look, Grace has got to get into people's business, right? So, you know, with Rochelle, Grace goes after her a little bit and tries to dig into that and find out what's going on. And not only does she try to investigate and find out and draw Rochelle a little bit closer, and you'll see she also uses it to her own purposes. Am I telling too much? No, she uses it for her own purposes. It's connected, and women who have also gone through, you know, Grace likes to fight for women. And women who have gone through similar things that have not had the legal luck and resources that Grace had when she went through her dramatic episode, that she can use this woman who has come into our you know, yeah, into our midst, into our solar system or whatever, revolves into our universe, that if she's going to be there, I'm going to use her resources for the greater good. And also, Grace also deals with a new phase of motherhood in that her daughter is really going to wrestle with her spirituality in a very, very tough way this season. And watching your child go through that, I think we probably teased some of that in the trailers that have been out, but Sophia really, really wrestles with God and in some hard subject matter.
And what about her love life, Grace's love
Oh,
life?
child.
Mr. I know that Rick Fox is becoming a regular, so that's pretty cool to hear that.
Well, Grace has always had drama with love. And I think that this relationship is no different. I think she knew going into it that she was going to be in a relationship with a man who doesn't believe what she believes spiritually. And at the time, because they had similar life goals in uncovering truths and fighting for justice and the written word, that they seem to be on the same trajectory. But when Grace realizes, oh, I do have a call in my life. God is pulling me back. God is trying to talk to me. Then there's that dissonance that starts to happen in the relationship when he can't come along with that. So, and I think that's something that we women have, a lot of us women go through. You know, like, oh, he looks real cute, but he might not be in line with what God has for me. You know? So we'll see how that works out.
Just said a mouthful there. Wow, that was pretty deep. I don't know. What do you guys think? I know that we have a lot of So Greenleaf fans, if you have been there since the very first episode and you have, you know, been waiting and waiting.